Hey there, friends. You are listening to Creating Success in a Mess. And we're so happy that you're here because every week in this podcast, we teach entrepreneurs and small business owners how to grow and accelerate their money flow.
Each week, we talk about strategies that not only help you grow your business, but help you grow as an entrepreneur also. The main goal in business is to enjoy what we do, to love what we do, and to be successful at it. And our goal is to help you get to the place where you want to be.
And an additional thing we also love is you have an opportunity to impact your community. What a great thing that you can take your business, your idea, and you can spread that love with the people around you. Welcome to today's podcast. We are so excited about this topic. It's definitely a mindset shift. We need these as entrepreneurs. They're so important. We get on all the technical routes of things. And honestly, mindset is king. And so today, we're going to talk about living in your now, which is the present, rather than the past or the future. Now, I was a high school teacher for a long time, and I taught history. Now, to be honest with you, boring subject. I remember students would be like, Mr. Vance, history is boring. And I'd be like, you know what, bro? You're right, it is. And they're like, well, what? But you're the history teacher. You're supposed to love it. I'm like, look, you cannot live in the past. And they would be like, well, then why? Why do we have to study history if you're telling us that we shouldn't learn or we shouldn't live in the past? And I would say, well, it doesn't mean you can't learn from the past. The past can be good, and there's a place to get to that, just like the future. You're going somewhere.
Right.
And there's a time to think about that.
Right.
And there's a time to think about where you came from. But most of the time, it's the now. Because you really can't do anything about your future unless you take action now. You really can't do anything about your past because it's already gone. But now, you have an opportunity to do it differently. And today's podcast episode is all about living in the now. Because it's your only real option. If you're sitting here overwhelmed, overconsumed with life, comparing yourself to every little bitty person over here. Oh, they have this, I want this great things. Pitiful me. Look, you have an opportunity. You can go into the pitfall, or you can do the next right thing.
Right. So this is something like we do in our personal lives as human beings, but then it's also something that we get stuck and caught up in business. And one of the things that I see all the time is, when we get into business and we're growing business and we're doing business, we start like following all of these rules and all of these like things that you need to do, like making your 5-10 year plan, and like at the end of the year, like what are your goals and things for the next year. And while those are great and good, like
they stretch us. We need to be stretched,
right? And it gives you a sense of and an idea of where you're going, so you don't just like feel so confused you have no idea like anything. A lot of times we end up just sitting there in that and getting so caught up in that we never actually come back to today. We're just living in our 10-year plan 10 years down the road, and then we get like stuck and overwhelmed.
The reason why people marry their goals. Well, I said I was going to do this in 5 years, so I'm going to do it. And you know what? If you have the determination, go for it. But sometimes you have to be careful.
Yeah.
You're not married to your goals. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. When COVID happened, no one knew. It jacked everyone's goals. It didn't matter if you were Fortune 500, a startup, stay-at-home mom. It didn't matter.
No.
Everyone's plans were completely altered, and the whole shift of everything in the world went in a completely different direction.
Yeah, and the determining factor of who came out of it with, like, whatever little bit of sanity we came out of it with, or, success. or success, or whatever was solely determined by the people that got back in the now and let go of the marriage that they had thought that they had, and they just started working from this place right here, right now. Yeah. What can I do right here, right now? Instead of just clinging like a death grip to the thing, the thought, the idea, the reality that they thought that they were determined that they were going to get in 5 years.
Right. Yeah, because you can take two perspectives. You can be optimistic, you can be realist. And whether you're optimistic or you're a realist, which me, I'm the optimist, and Whitney is typically the realist.
Right.
And then, of course, we have the other person. They're not on the podcast, but the pessimistic Patty, yeah, she's not here.
Right.
But on the realist and also the optimistic side, you have no choice. Make it the best that you can. There is no reason to sit back and do nothing. Do something, because when you look back at your past, you're going to have a memory. And you can either remember yourself sitting on the couch and doing nothing and being all pitiful and sorry for yourself, or you'd be like, you know what? I made the best with what I was given.
Right.
And you know what? It actually ended up being better for me.
So let's talk a little bit about how, like, people get stuck in the past and how to, like, recognize if today you're stuck and you're not actually taking action and progress and forward growth because you are stuck in the past.
Right.
So one thing that I see a lot of times is people overanalyze and they over fixate on all of the past events, all of the past actions, all of the past things that didn't go right or didn't go planned or didn't turn out or they look like a failure or make them feel like a failure or that they feel like they could have done better and it's like this, it becomes like this, game of like, if I did, if I had, if I, the shoulda game. Like, when, they sit around and they shoulda themselves. Like, I should have done this. If I had done that, I should, is the number one determining thing that I think I see in most people trying to run business, that they're essentially kind of like, back in the past, rehashing and analyzing.
Right. And that's just thinking about mistakes a lot of times. And the thing is you're going to make them.
Yeah.
Mistakes, you learn from them.
Right.
I can just, all the countless, times that we made mistakes.
Right. It's part of life. It's part of business. And it's actually the key determining, factor that is going to make us grow. But, in society, we have conditioned ourselves to think that we're going to be, 100% perfect, or we're going to strive to be as close to 100% perfect, and it's just not realistic.
It's not even possible.
No,
and I'm an optimistic person, but to sit here and say it has to be all these certain ways, it's like, wow, you are guaranteeing yourself failure,
right? Because
you are expecting it to all be a certain way, and guess what? You actually don't have that much control of everything. It could rain.
Yeah.
You could not have put enough blinker fluid in, and your blinkers won't work. Wait, blinker fluid is not a real thing, is it? That's just a joke.
That's a joke.
But that's the point, is you really don't have that much control. You can only do with what you have, where you have it, and when you have it. That's all.
Right. So if you feel like you find yourself stuck in the past, like over analyzing and overthinking and, trying to determine how you should have done it, you really have two things. Time's not up. So you can do it a different way. You can do it again. You can change it. You can try that shoulda that you have. You can try it again. You can take from that and make it new. And actually, that's what is going to create your success.
Yeah. So I should have worked out this morning. Oh, guess what? You still can. Put the headphones on, listen to us while you're walking.
That's right. And tomorrow morning, do it tomorrow morning. You still have time. You still can do that thing. Right. And then the second thing is, if you feel like you're, stuck analyzing the past, just stop. Just stop thinking about figuring out how it went wrong, where it went wrong, what went wrong. Stop. Just stop doing that and come to today and look and say, okay, this is where I am today, and ignore all of that back there,
Mm-hmm.
and say, what can I do right now, today, for tomorrow, or, for this afternoon, or, what can I do right now, today? And just stop getting caught and trapped in that past, rehashing all the steps and all of the things.
Right. Now, there are some quality things of looking back to the past. We have the term reflection.
Right.
I've always thought reflection is typically best when done fairly soon after doing something. So in business, if you run a campaign or a launch, you don't want to wait a month or two to reflect. You want to fairly reflect pretty quickly, because you can think of things that didn't go the way you wanted to, or the way you would want things to go differently when it's a little bit sooner. But it's also, another thing is, you can also reflect back to a part of your life to remind yourself who you truly are.
Mm-hmm.
And that can actually fuel you.
Right.
And then, in addition to that, you can also look back and think of, okay, so I came from here, and this is where I'm going. It's almost just like a mindset of like, this is where I was, this is where I am.
Like
and
a general
now I'm
timeline.
going, it's like stair steps.
Right.
You can look back and say, at one point in time in my life, I started climbing these steps.
Right.
And now I'm halfway through. And if I can think about the progress I made from there to here,
right.
Oh, think about what my future is going to be.
Right. But you're not going to sit and think about every little thing that happened every minute of the day that you were on that stair.
Right.
It's just a general look.
Right.
Another way that the past shows up in our life and in our business is when we have got into a habit of procrastinating and delaying and not taking care of things. And we are finding today that we're doing things that we should have done yesterday. So what happens then when we do this is we're in today, and we naturally want to progress. I mean, everybody in life wants to move forward. Nobody really, truly wants to just sit stuck in one place. But today, we start feeling like we're stuck because we have all this baggage. So we have all of these things that we didn't, get done in the past.
Right.
And we're having to deal with that today on top of today's things, and then naturally want to make forward progress. But if we're constantly having to drag around baggage and things from yesterday while today's things pile up, then we start feeling totally overwhelmed and kind of like stuck, essentially.
The overwhelm comes from your inability to catch up, because you can't. Because there's only so much time.
Right.
And so when you're dealing with what today has, which is enough for any individual is today's stuff, to also have yesterday's stuff.
Right.
So what you got to really do is you got to say, hey, I am not going to be able to do everything that today requires. And I will not be able to do everything that yesterday and the days before that required. So now you have to make a choice and say, what can I do that matters? And what can I cut that is probably not as important? You really got to make a priority and say, you know what, this has to be done. It has no choice, and I'm going to do it. And these things, you know what, they're on my list of, if I find time, I'll do it.
Right. Like your taxes, taking care of your accounting, making your marketing, those things have to be done.
You're not going to close your business because you missed one day of social media posting.
No.
Trust us, we do it all the time.
No.
We miss a day, and guess what? Still in business.
And at that point, you don't want to sit around and try to go back and do yesterday's marketing with today's marketing.
No.
Just start today and just go on forward from here. Because if you start getting your, training your mind to think like you have to do this for yesterday and for today, then that thought is going to just keep repeating.
Right.
So,
and here's what I don't like about it. When you're so caught up in yesterday's and the past, it's very difficult to live in your present now.
Right.
Because you can't even think clearly.
No.
And when you can't think clearly, you're not aligned.
Right.
You're diseased. in your situation. And so what you're producing is probably, dis-easement.
Yeah, not very good.
No. And in no way, shape, or form do you really want your business to continue being something that comes from a place of constantly needing to catch up and constantly just trying to check mark to get it done. I mean, we don't want our businesses to be like that. That's not the image that we want to portray.
No, and when we start living like that, we essentially start like running our businesses from a place of like the fight or flight, and at that point we're definitely in fight mode, and then like we become just totally like unhappy.
Yeah, we're not living.
No,
life is living us.
Right.
Like, we just become a number that just comes and produces, and there's no positive energy.
No, we start carrying around such a heavy bag of stuff that we feel like we have to produce for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But in reality, we can just stop and we can just come today and say, okay, starting right now, today forward, what am I going to do from here? And kind of just not necessarily worry about all of those things. And you can always like take a make a list of the things that you have to absolutely do, and then just disregard all the rest of it.
Right. So the first thing we're going to do right here is say, look, if it's out of my reach to change, I'm not going to worry about it.
Right.
I'm gonna move now. So I want to really kind of get into the present. But before we get into the present, we got to talk about the future. Now, for me personally, this is where I am typically, if I can feel myself, aka when Whitney can notice her husband's not actually producing anything, this is typically where I'm at. I'm in the future. I like thinking about where I would be in 10 years, in 5 years, a year, where I would be eating dinner that night. But dreaming can get you in trouble. Now, having a dream, nothing wrong with that. Wanting to go somewhere and attain something is great. But when you're constantly looking,
right,
it's not going to help you. So I'll give you an example. We were looking at moving somewhere. Like, we're going to move to another place, figure out a different place. I probably had us lined up for 8 different cities across America. I'm like, perfect place. Thomasville, Georgia. Have you seen this place? If you're listening from Thomasville, Georgia, shout out to you. It was, this is a wonderful little town. This would be a great place to raise a family. Don't you think? And then all of a sudden it's like, have you ever been to Tennessee? I've never lived in Tennessee. Have you lived in Tennessee? Maybe Tennessee's where, is God calling us to Tennessee? No, that's not it. East Texas, that's it. I figured out, I think I got a vision. The clouds looked a certain way. And that, actually, the highways that run through this town in Texas, I swear the clouds, I got a screenshot. Look at this. Oh, I was wrong. It wasn't East Texas. It was just south of Dallas.
This process went on forever. And in a way, he was so into the future in these towns that he can probably today tell you all about these towns that we're not going to.
No.
And in the meantime, he's invested so much energy and so much time.
Well, and our kids were like, where are we moving? Somewhere in America. But Dad said Costa Rica.
Yeah, and basically I was like, guys, just don't even listen to him. I'll let you know when and where we're going to do what. Because I just watch him go all the way down this road of ironing out all these details and all these things. And I mean, he has us a full 10 years forward into this one place. And I'm just like, you are spending so much time doing that, and the odds that something is going to change between now and that 10 years is so high. Right now, you're making a 10-year plan for where we're going to be based on where you currently are. But between now and the 10-year mark, we're going to make movements. And as we make movements, we're going to grow and we're going to change, and our needs and our wants and our desires are going to be different, and we're going to discover things we never even knew we even enjoyed or liked or wanted. And that 10-year plan down the road is going to change. I mean, it should change.
Right.
Because we should not, in 10 years, we should not want everything that we want today from where we're sitting.
Because I literally spent so much time researching all about these different places. I mean, I would be a great agent. Like, where do you want to move in America? I probably understand it.
Probably.
That in all the time and energy spent doing that, what was I working on for my now?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And so what was happening was you were going into each day with yesterday's baggage. Yeah. You were living each day in the future in your mind, but trying to handle yesterday's baggage.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming, and it was like frustrating for all, and you were producing absolutely nothing, making no progress. And in business, when that happens, you know what happens? Your sales go down because you're not in today with today's business growing it. And at the end of the day, your business is the extension of you.
Well, and when you dream, you put such a high level of your feelings and what you're wanting into it that you exhaust yourself on an emotional level that you don't have anything left to actually put into your business. Oh yeah, I forgot I was running this place.
Right. And it's great to have dreams, and it's great to have an idea of where you want to go and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But you also have to do that from today, like with a perspective of where you are today. Because what happens is you start creating such a large gap between where you are today and where you want to be that it starts feeling like it's unattainable.
Yeah.
Like it starts feeling like you're never going to get there because you are so far off.
Right. And in a lot of ways too is, I mean, when you fixate on something in your future, like I'm absolutely going to do this, you're not necessarily open-minded to the flow of what's best for you in your present day-to-day. It's like, oh, that doesn't align with where I'm going. Well, most of the time in your day, like the flow of it and the energy that surrounds the now is how you go. It's how you're supposed to be. Now, there's standards that you apply to, but don't be so stuck on blank.
Yeah, like when you said earlier, like we get married to our, plan.
Right.
And then I think sometimes what happens is like we are so married to it that we lose the flexibility of being open to like maybe there's something more that you actually would enjoy, or maybe, and so then you end up, determined like this time next year, I'm going to, X, Y, and Z, and then this time next year comes and you reach that X, Y, and Z, but then it's like it didn't fulfill, like it didn't like.
You're placing chains. You're making covenants with past and futures,
right?
That essentially chain you to something because it's not necessarily a place that you want to be or the things that you want to have. It's just a feeling.
Right.
And so if you want to kind of covenant yourself into something, it's, what's the feeling that you desire for your future? But the desire is, what do you want tomorrow?
Right.
It's not, I want to feel this way in 5 years. It's okay, I feel like crap for the next 2 years, just as long as in 5 years I feel this way. No, I want to feel like this tomorrow. Right. So what can I do today to get me to that feeling tomorrow?
Right.
Now, if you're living in a one-bedroom apartment and you want a mansion with big fancy cars and acreage, you're not getting it tomorrow. Well, it's possible.
It's possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything can happen.
But don't be depressed when it doesn't happen tomorrow. Know that you're making a shift. Because when you turn your ship a degree or two every single day, guess where your ship is going? A completely different destination. When a boat leaves Portugal and is going across the Atlantic, if it turns half a degree right, it will not end up in Mexico. It will end up in New York City. And sometimes the winds will push your degrees, and sometimes I think you should allow it.
Right.
Because you can always turn the wheel back if you get off course.
Right.
If you're like, whoa, I know I'm off course, I need to turn back. You always have that ability to do it. What's the worst you're going to happen? You lose a day? There was something you learned along that way. You went through those certain uncharted waters for a certain reason. So, hey, feel the energy, go with the flow every day. And what is the feeling that you want for yourself? What's the feeling you want for your family? The feeling that you want for your business? Chase the feeling of what it is that you desire. And then in the now and in the present, do things that align to get you there.
Right. And if you consciously can start recognizing, I have spent a lot of time sitting here thinking about the past or trying to handle yesterday's work or researching the future or really deeply investing into every little detail of the future, then stop. Recognize that that's what you're doing. Make it a conscious thing that you're going to start paying attention so that you know, wait a minute, I'm getting trapped here. And what I'm going to end up feeling is overwhelmed, stuck, depressed, anxious, all of those things today.
Right, because here's the thing. Those traumatic past situations, you'll know when they come back up. It'll smell. It'll look like, oh, no. I've been in this situation before. I'm not going that way because I got a feeling I want tomorrow.
Right. Yeah.
And so you don't have to sit here and think about your past too far. When you start seeing your present going a certain way, no. This is not right. And it could be the other way. Oh, yes. I see this. I see my future doors opening up. You just got to be open.
Right. You have to recognize and identify your actions today and your mind's process and your thought patterns so that you can redirect it when it happens, because it's going to happen. If you are the person that sits around and overanalyzes, you're going to have to create a new habit and you're going to naturally start repeating the old ways. So you have to be able to identify your habit and your pattern and what you've been doing so that you can correct course quickly when it happens, because it'll happen. And then you bring yourself back to the now, today, and you work on something for the now, today.
So, we're going to make some rules. I'm not going to mirror my past.
Nope.
I'm not going to mirror my future.
No.
I'm going to focus on what I can do today to get the feeling I want tomorrow.
Right.
Now, if you found today's podcast super helpful, we would love to invite you to this little thing that we call the Small Business Builders Club. It's a month-to-month membership community. It's for entrepreneurs that are just starting, those who are thinking about starting a business, and I would argue it's even good for some who've been in business for just a little while. But you can go to our website, businessbuildingmentors.com, go to the Learn With Us, and you will find it right there. And in that little membership, we will help you along your initial journey so that you don't have to feel lonely. You don't have to worry about your past and the chains that you're presently breaking. And you can be more focused on the feelings that you want tomorrow so that you take actions that get you there.
And if you found this podcast helpful for you, share it. Share it with somebody else that you know. Share it with somebody that could benefit from living in today rather than marrying the future or the past.
We appreciate you all listening to this episode, and we will see you again next time.
Well, hey, creative friends, we hope you enjoyed today's episode and you go take action in your business.
If you really enjoyed this episode, we hope that you definitely subscribe to us. And if you know some creative friends out there, go ahead and share to them. For next time, we'll be here, same time, same place.